Back now with news making headlines across the country. Minnesota has now become ground zero for clashes between protesters and federal officials over immigration enforcement. This as President Trump is threatening to send in troops as protests show no sign of stopping. News Nation's Mills Hayes has the latest.
Minnesota has become ground zero for clashes between protesters and federal officers over these immigration enforcement operations. President Trump even threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act as these protests show no sign of stopping. Protesters were seen banging on federal cars and blocking streets at the ICE facility overnight in Minneapolis. At least 3 arrests were made. One person tackled by officers after throwing a tear gas canister back at them. This all happening as the president is warning he'll invoke the Insurrection Act if Minnesota politicians don't stop people from attacking ICE. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey are urging the president to tone down the rhetoric and escalations and ask protesters to be peaceful. The FBI now offering a $100,000 reward for info leading to the recovery of stolen government property after hundreds protested where a Venezuelan immigrant was shot by an ICE officer who had been attacked. Attorney General Pam Bondi says that a known member of the Latin Kings gang was arrested for stealing weaponry out of that government vehicle that belonged to the FBI. And how do Minnesotans feel about this Insurrection Act? I was at the memorial for Renee Good, and people that I spoke with there tell me that it's just concerning because it's a little unclear on how this would all play out.
The divisive language that's honestly being used on both sides is not great leadership, right? Leaders are meant to bring people together.
If Trump deploys the federal troops and then if Walz decides to deploy the National Guard, it could be very scary and a full-on civil war.
President Trump has threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act before last year in Oregon, California, and Illinois after anti-ICE protests there. In Minneapolis, Mills Hayes.